All right. So, let me read to you when he talks about this binding force, which is the connection between the macrocosm and the microcosm, because they're both created the same way. If life advances through self-overcoming, so he himself, mimicking this first principle, is living in accordance to the principles of life, which is self-overcoming. And this is actually, it reveals another secret, where he talks about the eagles taking sheep from the herd to the mountains in order to disgust him, so he can create himself wings to fly. What that means actually in the more subtle level is that when he sees the mob and he sees people in the mob representing different untamed animal instincts, which he, which disgust him, he's able to keep, when he's with the mob, quiet. They don't trigger him, but they do disgust him. When they disgust him enough, when he goes to solitude, he's able to self-overcome those instincts within himself. When he overcomes them within himself, they don't trigger him anymore outside, together with all the people, when he's with the mob. So he's very silent with the mob, but he's very, very aggressive when he's in solitude. So the ego, pretty much, he takes the things he doesn't like about the mob in a way which he can identify within himself. And so what he actually identifies are things he still needs to overcome. So every time we're triggered somehow by the mob, these are things we still need to overcome in solitude. It's best to do it in solitude because it's self-overcoming and you don't want to hurt anyone else. I guess, maybe you do. It's possible. But another thing about it is that the binding force, the will to power, is that it is so aggressive that the overcoming is a power, is a selfish power. First of all, it's a very selfish power. Selfish process. The evolutionary process is a selfish process. And that's why you identify any reasonable or collective view of moral as something that takes you out of being selfish, of participating in the evolutionary process, and instead being more what he would call decadent, away from the evolutionary process and more tired somehow. The thing is, those instincts, those evolutionary forces are power, are force.
Tired?
Yeah, the decadent, I would say, nesigami, the going away from instinct. The power is within the instincts. So trying to discipline them by stepping away from them or see them as something evil or animalistic and tame them that way is actually blocking power. It's not expressing power. And the reason there's always conflicts is because power and the will to power always has the purpose of expressing itself outwardly. It's always had to express power, will to power. So it comes out as a will to control and overcome and even subjugate. And that's why when he talks to people, I want to hear about your will to subjugate other people and to subjugate,
enslave them.
Enslave. And when he talks about a collective of people, he would say, I don't want to hear about your ideals of reducing suffering and rights, universal rights that guarantee, eternal happiness to everyone. I want to hear about your will to control other nations, to put your nation above all others. Because this is how the will to power expresses itself. That's why he calls it evil. That's why he calls it chaos. But it's this chaos, this evil, this is the binding power between the macrocosm and the microcosm. If you listen to it, you're actually listening to the evolutionary forces which drive you. From there, there's a process to make gold out of it. But this power, this is like the fire of the whole chemical process. You cannot advance nowhere without it. So even if we go to other people in what I like to call, Yara showed it to me, the golden chain, and Shosheret HaZahav, which Jung talked about. I would say sometime before Nietzsche, whether he would acknowledge it or not, there was Dante. And Dante, I will reveal to you after I reveal the gold of Nietzsche, how in a very simple way Dante found that same gold. And Dante himself, if you read Dante's Inferno, right? It's the first part of his big book, The Divine Comedy, right? So in Dante's Inferno, he says, I see the Mount of Joy. So he sees the ultimate goal. And the Mount of Joy is the first cause which causes all joy and happiness and knowledge and everything. It's like the ultimate goal. But he sees it. Huh? Well, yeah, again, but Wagner, I guess, was supposed to be also part of that golden chain, but then Nietzsche departed from him.
זה שנקרא זהב הריין.
זהב,
ריין גולד.
כן, אם אתה מחלץ את הזהב שנמצא בנהר הריין, במעמקים אתה עובר את הנימפות של הריין, מצליח להשיג טבעת ששולט באמצעותה בכל העולם.
טבעת גם
טבעת טבעות, נכון.
לא, זה משם, זה לגמרי.
אבל גם פה הוא מדבר על טבעת הטבעות וזה, אבל שוב, I'll just stress that Nietzsche had a very, very deep conflict with Wagner and his anti-Semitism and his what he would call, I think, lowly nationalism. Yeah, maybe he was just in love with his wife. It's a possibility. הוא לפאר שווגנר היחיד שיוכל...
על זה, בדיוק על המחזה הזה של וגנר.
על נהר הריין.
על זהב הריין.
על זהב הריין, כן. הוא כתב, מה שאני זוכר, הוא כותב שם שווגנר היחיד שיכול בגרמניה לייצר בעצם טרגדיה. כן. אבל יפה שהזכרת את זה. Of course, when Nietzsche begins, he writes the book Birth of Tragedy, and where he thinks that the Greek tragedy was the highest form of art that was able to regulate morality in the Greek society. But then he talks about, but then he has second thoughts and he writes, כן, מחשבות שנייה, אני לא זוכר איך הוא קרא לזה, אבל שהוא מהרהר מחדש על זה שהוא כתב את זה. And you understand, tragedy is actually not the highest form of, there's something, he starts to understand there's something weird with tragedy, and that humanity is kind of...
זה אחרי המלחמה, הוא הלך למלחמה ואז חזר אחרי כמה שנים לכתוב את ההקדמה שהיא גם...
כן, ההקדמה הזאת שהיא חשיבה מחודשת על כל ה... So he thinks, humanity is kind of, I would say, addicted to tragedies. And he also talks here on the New and Old Tablets that there are three kinds of entertainment that man lives, and it's tragedies, bullfighting, and crucifying. Now, tragedies is ancient Greek, right? And I would say bullfighting is the lechem v'shashuim of the Roman Empire, and then tzlivot is the Christian, it's the Christian kingdom. But so he wants to, he thinks, and he hints about it in the little poem before he starts this chapter, where he says man's pain is deep. But there is something deeper than man's pain that you can find out. The thing is, each instinct, when it's regulated in, let's say, in a tragic manner, there is a tragedy and a trauma which tries to, or something that is like a tragedy or trauma, which tries to regulate the instinct, then it comes out, the will to power comes out as pain. But some would say that pain regulates your behavior. And he sees in it, we've been addicted to it all the time. It's the Greek tragedy, it's the tragedy of the crucifixion and all. But he comes to offer something different, which Dante also offers. But let me just finish the thing with Dante. So Dante wants to go to the Mount of Joy, all right, to find his goal. First form of all joy, the first cause of all joys. But he sees that every time he tries to go directly up, right? The other times he goes directly up to the hill, to the mountain of joy. All the monsters, there are like 3 monsters blocking him from getting up, going up. So then comes Virgil and shows them, well, you see, it's, the way up is down. Virgil, he meets Virgil, the poet. Vergilius. You can say he kind of, so Vergilius pretty much wrote the poems which define the spirit, I would say, of the Roman Empire. And Dante did the same for Italy. And after Dante, he inspired others to do the same, poets, big poets. And then you had someone like Francois Rabelais, who wrote Gargantua and Pantagruel, which defined the nation of, I think, of France. Rabelais. No, so the Spanish was Don Quixote. Cervantes. Cervantes did the same to Spain. And Nietzsche. Now Nietzsche is very interested in those kind of poets which are able to. And Goethe is German. And Goethe is German. Yeah, but definitely Goethe is Germany. But there's something which are uniquely interesting about all those guys. First of all, they are funny. They're very funny. Rabelais was hilarious. Dante, it's divine comedy, and his style is a style of comedy which is.
He's making jokes also about
exactly, and it's considered. Yeah, it's considered back then. But it's important because Dante, his style, his comedy style was considered, משהו נמוך. The comedy is like was considered the highest style was tragedy, considered in the classic one. I'm not sure what was the second, but the lowest was comedy.
The name Divine was after Dante.
Yeah, Divine was. Dante only called it comedy at the beginning, yes. But then shortly after they put together Divine Comedy, and it stick together. And what Virgil tells them, you can't tackle the mountain directly. Every time you and there's a lot that he starts to shift his language. He talks about his mind and how he tries to process what's going on, and he feels like he was washed ashore from the sea, and his mind cannot grasp the whole. This is almost his last breath, and it's like as if his last breath trying to grasp all of the sea which brought him there, and it's like. His mind is not able to process the whole scope of chaos of life, and he gives up. And Virgil tells him, the way up is down. Yeah? You got to go through hell. You got to go through the instinct, because they regulate you more than your reason. Your reason is not able to make sense of everything because chaos is moving you, and if you deny chaos, it will keep on controlling you. But you got to go down. Find the causes to get to know the chaos, to get and over there's some work to do. So in there, when you go instinct by instinct, you will find pain, because each instinct was regulated by a tragedy, one form. Yeah. But Dante, Rabelais, Nietzsche, even Goethe, they had a different approach. The golden chain approach, which is comedy. We thought comedy is a lot deeper, because comedy, according to Nietzsche, has a very unique property. It releases you from the yoke of logic and reason and formal, I would say, and form. Yeah, and drama and בהתקשרויות, moralities of civil societies, the humor
זה האל
can...
המרקד. האל המרקד,
כן,
תרגם אותי.
האל המרקד, פה עכשיו יהיה זמרה, צחוק וריקוד. So this is pretty much why they see divine comedy. The comedy is like bringing this kind of oil to, you know, it's like bringing in oil to make the machine go a little bit, you know, it's like and that is lightness. Now I will give you some good example of what this lightness means or how you what it practically means. DXM זה לא סם.
לא, אני שואלת, זה האל מתוך האל המרקד או האל מתוך המכונה במקרה הזה?
לא, דאוס אקס מכינה זה משהו אחר. דאוס אקס מכינה זה שכשאין פתרון לסיפור, אז בוא נביא איזשהו מלאך ש...
אולי שינו את המכונה של דאוס אקס מכינה, אתה אומר?
האל המרקד לא, אני שואלת.
זה כן.
אם אני שואלת, שזה על אותו עיקרון פועל גם ב...
לא, דאוס אקס מכינה הוא משהו אחר. הוא גם, זה איזשהו משהו שיש בטרגדיות מסוימות, בוא נאמר, זה כלי ספרותי לצאת מפלונטר, הייתי אומר.
DXM אני יודעת, אבל האל המרקד, מה זה תסביר?
אז האל המרקד הוא... טוב, אבל אני יכולתי להסביר את זה תוך כדי שנקרא את האל המרקד.
זה דמיניסוס בכל העסק הזה. זה לא דמיניסוס?
כן, זה דמיניסוס, אבל לפני זה גם שיבה. ושיבה את בטח לא מכירה את האל.
מה זה לעבוד ככה?
Different names, the same thing.
Different names, different dance.
שיבה, לא?
שיבה, יש?
Can I ask you?
Excuse
me, can I ask to sort of explain this conversation? Because it sounded interesting, but I didn't understand it. There was this exchange, yes.
Me neither.
No, she asks about what is the dancing god, if it has to do something with Deus Ex Machina, but
I thought that there are
what is dancing god in there? I didn't understand the connection.
I don't think there is a connection, but about the dancing god, I will explain it when we read it. Now, so I would like to read about this binding force I was talking about. All right, so let's see where it is. These are concepts for this.
Do you want my coffee?
אני אגיד לך,
בפרק האחרון קיבלת את שלך.
לא, האמת, אני אגיד לך, את כל ההקדמות פה פשוט סימנתי זה בספר הזה, אבל את הפרק עצמו אפשר לקרוא.
כן, תקרא באנגלית.
כן. אז הוא אומר...
misunderstanding.
לפחות זה הגיע עבודה ראויה. אתה לא מאשים.
Now,
צריך ללכת לסוף הכאוס.
לא חייבים. זרתוסטרא בצרפתית.
Now, about the pain,
לא, צריך בגרמנית פעם הבאה, לא?
בואו, אבל זה רק שייקור.
And now again, when he goes through an instinct, each instinct which was regulated by by one's own personal history, and one's own personal history encounters one of those instincts through his life, and one of those instincts might make him do something which seems silly, and that silliness gets him in trouble and pretty much gets him into a tragedy because he starts thinking, oh, why did I do that? And ever since that instincts become manifested as pain, and maybe even very subtle pain, and that's where humor and comedy needs to come in and release the ties of tragedy, pretty much. So that was I was going into here.
זה כאילו החזרה שלך לטרגדיה?
לא, הטרגדיה קורית, ולהתגבר עליה, משהו שנמצא מעליה, זה הקומדיה. The comedy is the overcoming of tragedy. Because when you can laugh at the biggest tragedy, you actually overcame it, right? So,
Holocaust jokes.
actually, yeah, and there's something interesting about Holocaust jokes. They were made during the Holocaust to overcome the horrific, reality. They made fun of it because there was nothing else to do, So now he talks about the devil. Now the devil, he says, okay. באשר שבתי ומצאתי את צטני הוותיק, ואויבי בנפש, את רוח הכבדות וכל אשר יצר, כפייה, קביעה, הכרח ועקב ומטרה ורצון וטוב ורוע, כן? כפייה, קביעה, הכרח ועקב, דברים עקביים, דברים סטטיים, דברים שנשארים. He talks about the devil. The devil is very heavy, very decadent, and his properties are, I would say, his properties are
static.
Yeah, they are static,
Yeah,
עקביות, you know, things that you know that come at one
Constantly,
after
time after time.
yeah, I call it nitzchiyut, which is eternal truth, which gives you a sense of that things are ordered. All right, it gives you a sense that it tries to order things. The devil tries to make sense and order out of everything. Pretty much, what he tries to do is build the Tower of Babel. It tries to find one language which encompasses all things. But every system man makes which tries to encompass everything crumbles. So that's the devil. That's the devil. It's the serpent. It's Cain who built the first city. And it's Nimrod who... Those cities for him were cities and religion, or were state and religion combined together. And they were dwelling with the original sin according to this book, which is trying to enforce one logical, universal, eternal language and morality. Human, exactly. Human.
Not
Exactly. And we need to accept chaos because that puts us in a humble state that we do not know, we cannot predict. And so, countering it is what is the force that binds everything together. And he calls it, so that is the devil, all right? The devil he also calls the goodwill. But what is the good thing, all right? The good, so he said, כל מה שרע בעיני הטוב, מן ההכרח שיתקבץ, על מנת שתיוולד אמת אחת. האחי, האומנם ראים אתם די צורכה של אמת זו? התעוזה הנועזת, החשדנות הממושכת, הלב האכזר, כן, של האריה, הסלידה, החיתוך בבשר החי, מה נדירות יתקבץ כל זה יחד, ואולם מן הזרע הזה אמת תיוולד. So the chaotic evolutionary forces, they are actually forces of, they're not forces of order, but of chaos. They're not forces of things which give you assurance, but things that throw you into an abyss. All right? And then you ask yourself, how can chaos bind together into one? Yeah, everything. What is that thing that makes chaos bind everything together, bind into one? That's that's the goal pretty much. The goal we're going to find.
Can I ask, where are you reading? Because
just from prior chapters which we went through that have some of the same concepts we're going to talk about. This was from Old and New tablets.
But it's jumping.
Yeah.
okay,
So, when he talks about the poem before this, all right, before the 7 seals, he talks, all right, he counts from 1 to 12, which is the round clock, goes through all, the encompassing time, and what he described there is how he falls into abyss and comes back, and falling into abyss, he encounters the instincts, he feels the pain, and when he goes deeper, he feels the joy. And then he understands that this joy comes from eternally putting yourself into the abyss. And that requires something he talked about, which is called courage. You need courage to throw yourself into chaos, to throw yourself into the abyss. Because it goes away from ordered ideas and moralities you've created yourself with human language. So it requires some, So it requires some, now, when encountering an instinct, the first purposes you will find for that instinct are the most might be the stupidest, but the ones that you are most used to. But overcoming it is, again, putting yourself in the abyss, not letting them define your actions, but let your actions define the nature of your instinct now. And that is throwing yourself into the abyss, and that's why it requires courage. Now he will explain the secret here, pretty much what I think is the secret, how you throw yourself into the abyss and put aside the notions and the tragedies which you took upon yourself, upon your instincts. How you put your
habits.
How you put away your habits and able to. Now it has to do with what he says, the old dictum of reason and faith, and he said, and where he goes is life lived out of faith, because you need to have faith that when you throw yourself into the abyss, in the other side you will find the joy which you expect to find. It requires some, yeah.
Isn't it Nietzsche who says that hope is... Actually, it's Nietzsche who... It's
not hope, it's faith. It's two different things.
No, but he said, I think he interpreted some kind of pre-Socratics or something like this, saying that hope is a Pandora myth, I think. It's a Nietzschean interpretation.
Yeah, hope is a bad thing. It's a total bad thing.
It's a kind of ultimate poison for humanity.
Absolutely.
So you shouldn't hope, when you jump into abyss, you shouldn't hope for anything.
Yeah.
This
but how you call it? You must. The only thing that will give you power to thrust yourself into it, because the first instinct is I'm going to feel pain. You must have, how you call it? Emunah. You must have.
There's a difference here.
Faith
between hope and faith.
Yeah, faith and hope are two different things.
It's like saying this is what I want to happen, so I'm, I think I'm doing this so that this good thing that I want will happen. I hope that this will happen. Faith, it can be a bit more deeper thing, where you have no idea. I don't know what will happen, but I have faith in the fact that I will be able to overcome it.
Or I have faith in the process. I have faith in what's going on.
I don't hope that I can overcome it. I know I have faith. I have a deep-seated belief in the fact that I can deal with whatever comes at me after I throw myself.
Now, if you want to read about it, he talks about beyond good and evil, about this dictum between faith and reason, and he says there were two great movements: the Renaissance and the Reformation. And one of them took man into the realm of I would say, one of them took them to the realm of decadence, which was the Reformation, and the other Renaissance was more put out the higher types of men. And he said the higher types of men, if the decadence tries to formulate moralities by reason, which crumble each time, like the Tower of Babel, then against reason there is faith. Faith, but faith in what? Of course, faith in the instincts. Faith that the instincts will reveal to you the power and the new man and the...
So it sounds that faith is stronger than hope, meaning that when you have hope...
Yeah, and hope is a bad thing. Hope is a very... Hope is like telling you...
Hope derived from fear, and faith derived from love.
Courage.
Love and courage.
Now, there's something into Socrates also. There was some humor. I mean, he was kind of a cynical kind of guy. But when he encountered the people there over there, they kind of, I don't know if he tried to rationalize their deeds and everything they do, and that's why Nietzsche doesn't like him very much. But some of them, he says, those Greek people were so noble that they laughed him off, because they couldn't, from the noble perspective, they couldn't understand the way he tries to regulate them. I think that's what he thought, that their laughter was a good thing. It was like a defense mechanism from like Socrates. Now, about the laughter. כן. סוכר זה היה כבוד? היה כבוד לא טוב. כן, כן, נכון, זה לא... רציתי לכתוב לי איזה משהו שאני לא אשכח אחר כך. שזה... Thanks. So, I would say maybe we can really actually start read it, because I have here this diagram which puts order and chaos, those two metaphysical concepts, and how they manifest, through one's self, through society, and through the cosmos, and which can help. But I think I would prefer we better read this. Read this here. So let me come out. So the seven seals is it's like the seven seals of Revelation. Now the seven seals of Revelation.
From the book of John.
Huh?
From the book of John.
John the
Revelations, כן. אם לא טועה, יש גם book of John וגם book of Revelation.
יש אגב הרבה קלפי טהרות ב-Revelation.
Book of Revelation by John the Revelator.
הכהנת הגדולה.
John the Baptist.
No, John the Baptist is different John.
From John of Revelation.
So John the Revelator.
Mm.
He's a crazy person.
So the Revelations, they talk about seven seals that only the Lamb of God or the Lion of Zion, which I prefer, can open. A seal. If you have a letter or something like, you put a seal on it, but only the chosen one. Letter. כאילו, כן, מכתב או מגילה או scroll. So, only, but once he opens it up, he opens up the apocalypse. I mean, the first four seals are like the four horsemen of apocalypse, and the other three are very bad things. 7 trumpets, which bring in lots of chaos and all. But, but here for Zarathustra, that's a great thing. He's ushering in the overman.
לא.
אני ראיתי את הגרסה של 4 שעות של אפוקליפסה עכשיו.
לא, דיברתי על זה.
זה לא מספר עליי, אבל ראינו פה את החותם השביעי של בדמות.
כן.
ונשארתם בחיים.
לא התאבדתם.
כן. זה מה שהחייה אותנו, זאת אומרת. חיים כאלה.
אנחנו עכשיו בחזרה הנצחית.
Okay, so now here the seals are the exact process of creating the gold. Making gold out of lead is doing it to your own soul. So let's go through them. So pretty much what it's going to be, the map is like seal 1 would be correlated to Negrido, the first part of the book. Seal 2, Albedo, the second part of the book. Seal 3, Rubido, the third part of the book. You will see it's on the spot. Seal 4 is the Philosopher's Stone he finds 2 chapters before. Seal 5 is the macrocosm which spills itself into the cup, into the Philosopher's Stone. He also talks about it as a cup, but a cup which life can pour itself into it. So that is seal number 5. It's where the difference between macrocosm and microcosm are there. There is no boundary in them. The boundary is lifted. Seal 6, he finds the gold. Seal 7, I would say what the gold does to his spirit, pretty much. All right. But this pretty much now we will see it. Right? Now each seal ends in a prayer, same prayer, and we will. I guess we will talk about the ending of each seal, maybe in the end. But it goes like this. If I be a diviner, alright, diviner זה יותר יפה, זה בעברית זה מבשר, כן? If I be a diviner and full of the divining spirit which wandereth on the high mountain ridges twixt two seas, wandereth twixt the past and the future as a heavy cloud, hostile to sultry plains and to all that is weary and can neither die nor live, ready for lightning in its dark bosom and for the redeeming flash of light, charged with lightnings which say yeah, which laugh yeah, ready for divining flashes of lightning. Alright, so there's the name of the 7 seals. He has another name for it, for this song. He called it the song of Yeh and Amen Lay. Okay, the Yeh and Amen Lay. What is his positive idea he brings in to this discussion? Because he always
affirmation.
Yeah,
concept of affirmation.
Because he always talked about what not, what things, what is being done wrong, what is decadent. But now he's going to talk what is like his point of reference. Then he finishes. This part, all right, it reflects the first part of the book, because when he talks about he hates everything which is weary and will not live and will not die. It means these are instincts or life forces which refuse to go all the way with their purpose and either kill themselves, rid themselves in the evolutionary process, or overcomes themselves. Right? Because each instinct has its own strategy, and in order to overcome it, in order to go beyond it, it has to live fully its own strategy. If you keep it through tragedy, if you keep it, enclosed, so it won't spill out in any way, it will weaken the person, and it won't kill him and won't make him live. Right? So people, because they're so afraid of dying, so they say, "So no, I won't live either." But here, what he would prefer is go all the way and let's kill what's not necessary. Let's move on to what's all right.
Just don't be tired. Either you're dead, or you're alive.
Just don't be tired, because you see that reason devoided from instincts, reason trying to regulate instincts, is like a tapir, like a parasite. It makes you very tired. And people, if we can see that if we are very tired, not in every situation. Sometimes we're really tired, but sometimes we're not even tired. We just don't do anything. We might just see that there's a lot of thoughts clouding our head, and it takes a lot of energy, even if it's positive thoughts, even if it's reasonable thoughts. But going through them again and again, trying to make them regulate your instinct, makes you very tired, very tired. That's the way to, I would say, there's the whole, identify the parasite, right? And that parasite is the devil, pretty much, according to him. Makes you decadent. So, for example, I would say, universal, eternal rights of, I would say, the cosmopolitan superstate is a sign, as I said, in the modern society, of decadence, because they're trying to make rights which have nothing to do with human nature. They're just right. They sound great. They're very reasonable. They put man as the prime purpose, but they're a sign of decadence. Now, and I'll give you a very, very interesting sign of decadence, maybe in the end, if you push me to it. But okay, so now we finish. That's pretty much the essence of this seal. Let things die, or let them overcome themselves. Don't keep them. Now, what the basic form of what keeps things decadent, he would say, would be mercy, would be rachamim. Mercy sees this world as something bad. And sees this world as something bad, sees suffering as something bad. Sees suffering as something bad, it won't want to let anything or anyone suffer, even if that suffering is the source for self-overcoming and advancement. Yeah.
אתה יודע איזה אסוציאציה עולה לי? שמישהו יתרגם אותי.
Yes.
Association.
אוקיי. אבל זה מזכיר לי במשחק של מחבואים, כשאתה ילד. אז יש כאילו את המדגור, כאילו שמישהו מחפש.
קמפינג.
כן, ואז כאילו, הוא לא יוצא לחפש.
Yeah. She gives, that's an amazing example. Okay, when you play hide and seek,
and she has the strategy of waiting in only one place.
And not really playing, because you don't want to be catched, you don't want to die, but you don't really live. So yeah. But the whole purpose of life, it's a game, it's a risk. It's a playing the dice. That will be the third part. So that's the first part. Let it die. Great. And it's the camel. The camel is heavy. The camel dies, and then comes the light. So now, okay. Oh, how could I not be ardent for eternity and for the marriage ring of rings, the ring of the return? Never yet have I found a woman by whom I should like to have children, unless it be this woman whom I love. For I love thee, O eternity. For I love thee, O eternity. We will interpret this at the end because it finishes each seal. It seals each seal. So, yeah. Okay, second seal. If ever second seal is albedo. So if one is let it die, then two, albedo is the cleansing, is the purifying. It's being able to disassociate yourself from ideas that seem very true or even your ideas, and to disassociate yourself from them. So this is how he talks about it in 2. He said, if ever my wrath has burst graves, shifted landmarks, or rolled old shattered tables into precipitous depths, if ever my scorn hath scattered mouldered words to the winds, and if I have come like a besom to cross spiders, cross spiders זה הכבישי צלב, חשובים, and as a cleansing wind to old carnal houses, if ever I have sat rejoicing where old gods lie buried, world blessing, world loving, beside the momentous of old world maligners. Now what he talks about here is that his spirit, it broken down old traditions of morality or religious morality, but also the shadows of God, which in modern day were very similar to organized Orthodox religion, which he says it seems secular, but it's not me. It's the same shit, he would say. That's where he talks about how his wind not only breaks down the churches or old graves, but also the cross spiders. Cross spiders are in his days anarchist socialist movement which talked about reform of society for equality, which is equality is a reason faculty devoided of instinct. So it's for the sake of equality, for just the concept of equality. It has nothing to do with human nature. He talks about self-overcoming, so he thinks that's human nature. It's kind of a ladder. But equality, it's reason. It's something decadent. And he says it's no other than the old religions. And then he says, if ever I have sat rejoicing where old gods lie buried. Now there's importance for it. I mean, it's not that these are all bad ideas and he destroys them. That's it. End of story. But there is a reason for him to destroy it. All right? If ever I have sat rejoicing where old gods lie buried, world blessing, world loving, beside the monuments of old world maligners. For even churches and God graves do I love. Okay, he loves them. If only heaven looketh through their ruined roofs with pure eyes, gladly do I sit like grass and red poppies on ruined churches. Now, those red poppies, if you ever seen a red poppy, Peregadon, beautiful flower, very tempting, but it's a poppy, so it's opium. It makes you decadent. There's something very beautiful about it. And if you look closer, you would see that red poppies, they have a black cross inscripted on the red poppy. And it has to do with the Lutheran churches, which he thinks were the opposite of the Renaissance, because Luther's seal was a rose and a cross within the rose, a white rose though, and overcoming them, overcoming the old religions and the new secular religions of equality is important, because it's like steps in the ladder of which makes one practice overcoming and self-overcoming. You overcome the will to equality within you. You overcome the will to revolution within you. He says these are all decadent concepts, devoid of human nature, and they bring in tragedies, and overcoming them, like overcoming the Lutheran religion, like overcoming the Catholic religion, is what the Übermensch does. You can't just have a concept of the Übermensch, and it's like saying that I assume that applying the Übermensch in this world is overcoming them. And that's why it's important to have them. It's important to have those churches and those organizations so you can overcome them. By overcoming them, you're actually manifesting the Übermensch. So that's why he loves them. Now, why is it important? Because from the other side, if you look what, for example, the anarchists do, if you look what the Christians do, they whatever they deny, or the concepts or they have a morality come from denial of other things, and when they deny them, they don't love them anymore. It's in such a way, all right, which brings us back to when Zarathustra talked about laughter, where he said, upon everything, he talked about it on the old and new tablets, above everything, I have crowned everything, beyond good and evil, I've crowned everything with laughter. Why did it say that above, beyond good and evil, above everything, beyond the decadence, beyond tragedy? He crowned it with laughter. Why crowned it? Because Jesus, when he was being taken to the cross, the Romans, in order to mock him and to laugh at him, they crowned him with a crown of thorns. They say, "Oh, look, he's the king of the Jews," in a way to mock him. And so there are some. You can hear Jesus. I don't know when he said that, but in one of the apostles is written that Jesus said, like his words of wisdom are like something like, "Those who laugh today will be sad in the afterlife, and those who weep today will laugh at the afterlife." Thomas Aquinas, he has this footnote about it, that one of the things that will make people laugh at the afterlife, at the eternal heaven, is that they will see the punishment of the people who laugh at them in this world, and that will make their joy even more joyous. So this is kind of he said, a resentment. This is not, you don't love what you reject. You just reject it. And it's more as if, it's not words of wisdom saying that if you laugh today, you will weep tomorrow. It's more like, oh, you're laughing now? You just wait. You just wait. It's resentment, right? You just wait what happens, right? It's not, yeah. But it comes out of resentment, not really words of wisdom. It's like, oh, you're laughing? No, you just wait. You just wait. It's like, it's resentment, right? But it comes out as words of wisdom. It disguises as a word that's what he will think. Actually, and he writes that he understood it by reading actually the book of Revelation. He says the book of Revelation is describes the most resentment among the Jews and the Christians towards the Romans. So he's different because he doesn't denies everything. Even the decadent parts of them, the mob parts of them, are important for him, so he can overcome them, or he can use them to identify instincts he still needs to overcome. And overcoming is the name of the game. There is no overcoming if you just deny everything, right? If Dante just denied hell and tried to always go to the mountain directly, he would never get there. The monsters would scare him away. So he can't deny anything. He has to go.
need to write on Gerion, which is the line, שקר. צריך לרכוב על יצור מיתולוגי שנקרא גריון, שהוא מייצג את השקר כדי לעבור. זה גם סוג של ללכת על הגיהנום או משהו כזה, לא? כדי לעבור מהעין. לעשות את השקר. כן, הוא צריך לרכוב עליו.
כן. המעניין. צריך לחשוב על זה. Now, okay. Now, in seal 4, we will understand why it's important not to reject anything. Why you have to accept chaos. Yeah, you go to chaos with faith, together with accepting order. Right? Each ordered system of morality crumbles and he overcomes it, but he accepts them both. Opposed to other people who just accept order and try to deny chaos, try to impose the order on the chaos. And he understands that suffering, chaos, these are things which you should never deny. Now, the dynamics he have, the secret he revealed in the last chapter, is that is how to use the mind to create orderly images or ideas that go along with the chaos of life. And it's all right. We'll get to it. 3 is rubido. All right. So after negrido, albedo, rubido. I would say that negrido, albedo, rubido, it's like negrido is to, בוא נאמר, הכנעה, הבדלה, המתקה, נתרגם את זה לאנגלית, זה יהיה הכנעה, זה surrendering, alright, surrendering bad habits, right, letting them die. Now, it's even if, like, let's say you have a passion which is hard to regulate. Let's say you can't stop sleeping or something like that, because you're like, or you can't stop, oh, you can't stop eating. I don't care. You can't stop doing drugs. I'll never stop doing it. But let's say
you can't stop having Nietzsche.
If you take it to the maximum, let's say one night you just no conscience. He wants to get you to the point where you wake up, overdose, but to get you to the point of that, so you crumble. It breaks your heart. Once your heart breaks, I'm so shit, I'm so shit. When you're in that state, that's good. That's the only way. This chaotic, aggressive, oh, God damn you, stupid animal. It's the only way to change. You can't do it by pacifying yourself. You'll need all your aggressive forces to change yourself.
Does that mean that the only way to overcome yourself is through negating what you don't like, or what sort of?
No. So it won't be negating. In the end, it's not negating. It's encompassing more. I would say it's like I think the nicest I would say example for that I heard I saw is like in the movie Kung Fu Panda. So he can't stop eating. He eats and eats, but he wants to be the dragon warrior, but he can't because he always wants to eat. But then one day, his master, he almost gives up, and he walks past the gym and he sees the Kung Fu Panda like on top of one of the drawers. He just jumped over there in 1 second and said, how'd you get up there? I was hungry. The cookie was up there.
The wheel.
Yeah, the wheel. And so then the penny drops. And so, all right, we're going to start the training. And he starts to hide food from him in a way where he needs to get to the food, but he never lets him eat the food. And then he starts to learn Kung Fu that way. And all his hunger is used to make him the Dragon Master. Now, denying his nature would never make him the dragon. It would make him tired, it would make him lazy, it would make him bored. He talks about boredom. These are things, and make him decadent. Encompassing it, this is the only way to become the dragon warrior. So the first stage, I said, I got the first three stages, the stages of alchemy, Negrido, Albedo, Rubido. So the first one is let it die, it's surrendering. After you surrender, Havdalah would be the separation, or separatio, I think it's how they call it. But, כאילו להבדיל, יש לזה אפילו מילה טרפה. Separate, afterwards, okay, so after, let's say you kill the old religion, the new secular religion seem very, very ideal, very like your will, but also them, you're able to see in them the...
Discriminating.
Discriminate.
אני גם חיפשתי את המילה והיא צודקת ב100%. Discriminate זה המילה הכי מדויקת.
It's not in the negative way of discriminating.
נכון, זה כאילו מוץ מתבן.
Discrimination between aspects.
כן, אפליה, לא?
לא, זה לא אפליה, זה בדיוק, זה הבדלה.
אוקיי.
זה בדיוק
אפליה מתקנת, לא אפליה.
אוקיי.
הבחנה מתקנת.
But I'll give the two greatest examples of things which he might thought he is his will, but he separates from himself. One is the will of the poets, which the poets are not. In these days, he talks of them like they're rock stars. They're not set to one set of rule or values or ideas. They are able to constantly change because they're artistic, but their artistic change or artistic concept come from triggering other people. They're not trying to trigger themselves. Whatever triggers the masses is good. And then they think, I get recognition from the masses means that I found some very mystical and godly power and godly will. But because it depends on recognition of others, it's still not the real deal. So you have to separate this. And then you look at the revolutionaries. They look at the king who rules the place. We want a revolution, but the revolution is just doing the opposite of what there already is. It's not creating something new out of yourself. It's not. You're still triggered by the powers to be. So you just want to revolutionize. You don't want to create anything new. That's also you separated away from you. That's also not your will. Now he gets to the third stage, where he gets to things which he creates from out of himself. And that is the rubidu, the reddening, which would be the sweetening, the dulzora. Yeah?
This is the philosopher's stone.
No, the philosopher's stone is still number 4.
Okay.
3 is the rubidu. 4.
How do you call it in this metaphor?
So it's negrido, albedo, rubido, the philosopher's stone. Life, which is poured into the philosopher's stone. Find the gold, and then what the gold reveals to you or does to your soul. So 3 is now sweetening. It's sweetening is now your actions are not dependent upon recognitions of others or old models of morality. But they come out of you, but the process still is not complete, because now that you're a creator, you're creating. You've got to keep on creating, so your creation will be more
pure.
Yeah, more pure. But in order for it to be pure, this process needs to go on and go on. You create, and you deny what you create to create something anew, right? And that's how... Yeah. And that's eternity, right? The chaos and the order, you have to keep on creating. That's where joy also comes from. Okay? Joy comes from, say, eternal creative. So this is the creative part, 3, all right? Okay, so we have surrendering, separating, and now creating. Once you create enough, you find the philosopher's stone. So what the creating is, if ever, now here's one of the secrets we're going to learn today, all right? If ever a breath hath come to me of the creative breath, and of the heavenly necessity which compelleth even chances to dance star dances. Terrific. Just terrific. Right? The heavenly necessity which compelleth even chances to dance the star dances. So we talked about the binding force, the chaotic binding force which needs to come together. על כל זה צריך להתקבץ יחד כדי להביא אמת אחת. אבל מה מקבץ את כל הכאוס הזה, את כל הלאו האכזר והשלילה הזו והשבירה של... מה מקבץ אותם? מה מנחה אותם? Okay? What brings together? Okay, so you say, what is that creative breath which compelled chances, just things that happen that you don't...
coincidence.
Oh yeah, just coincidence or what? To dance star dances. This is way out of nihilism, pretty much, right? Mm-hmm. This is way out of nihilism. Because he gets to nihilism by being totally immersed in his self, in his own
selfishness.
It's no selfishness. It can take him to the path of nihilism, of postmodernism, which contaminates our society today. Yeah. But what is the way out? Okay, he does have a truth. If ever I have laughed with the laughter of the creative lightning, to which the long thunder of deed followeth, grumblingly but obediently. All right. So you have the lightning and you have the thunder. So first you have the lightning, then you have the thunder. Now these are not two separate phenomena. It's one phenomena, but we perceive them to be separate. So we might hear the thunder and think, oh, the thunder just happened. It has nothing to do with the lightning. But it said, just before your deeds. Just before your deeds, all right? Your deeds, you might take credit for them. I did that. You might think you were free to choose your deed, that you had the freedom to, and responsibility over your deeds. But what he's trying to say is, much before that, there's something prior to your deeds, and that's your state of mind, or your state, or even your physiological state. So the most simple example, if you are, let's say you're the same person, same day, everything, but one day you're very tired, and the other day you're just normal. The day where you're tired, even if you have the best intentions, being tired is much stronger in regulating your deeds than your intentions. If you're tired, it doesn't matter, right? You will do mistakes or stupid things. Right? If you are in a state of mind of laughter, then that will, as he said, if ever I have laughed the laughter of the creative lightning, to which the long thunder of the deed followeth, grumblingly, right? It's not ordered, it goes up, but obediently. Right? So it's laughter which regulates.
אתה יכול לחזור לדבר בעברית, לא הבנתי את ההמרה שעשית.
אוקיי, אז יש את הברק והרם, אלה לא תופעות נפרדים, אלא זו פשוט תופעה אחת שבאה אחרי השנייה, אבל של אותו, אנחנו תופסים את זה כשני תופעות נפרדים, אחד אחרי השני, אבל זה אותו. אז רגע, אז הוא אומר, ברק הצחוק, שלאחריו מגיע רעם המעשה. כלומר, בצורה טובה, כלומר, הם מצייתים לאותו צחוק. זאת אומרת, מה שקדם לאותם מעשים, הוא הרעם של הצחוק. עכשיו, מה שאומר שהמעשים שלנו, אנחנו יכולים לקחת עליהם אחריות, לחשוב שאנחנו בחרנו אותם, שאנחנו, כן, אחראים למעשים שלנו, אבל בפועל, המצב הפיזיולוגי והנפשי שלנו, שקדם לאותם מעשים, הוא קובע הרבה יותר את טיב המעשים שלנו ומה נעשה, מאשר נאמר הכוונות שיהיו לנו באותו יום. אז בדוגמה הכי פשוטה, אם אתה באותו יום, נאמר ניקח את אותו יום שבמימד אחד, כן, שאתה עובר את אותו יום אתה מאוד עייף, בממימד אחר אתה רגיל, ביום שאתה עייף, גם אם יש לך את אותם כוונות, גם אם יש לך את אותם מחשבות, המעשים שלך ייצאו אחרת לגמרי. הם ייצאו עם טעויות, הם עלולים להביא אותך גם למרמור, זה כי המצב הפיזיולוגי, אתה תעשה את המעשים ייצאו פשוט פחות טוב. ולכן, אם מה שקודם למעשה, הברק שקודם לרעם, הוא מצב פיזיולוגי של צחוק, אז זה ישליך על שאר המעשים שלך. Okay? עכשיו, אם מה שקודם לזה זה טרגדיה, גם זה ישליך על שאר המעשים שלך. ולכן יש לו פרק שלנו, זה שנקרא On the Joys and Suffering of Passions, כן? בחלק הראשון. אז הוא רוצה את הנתיב של הג'ויז, את הנתיב והנתיב הזה הוא מה שמוביל אותו, אוקיי? What I would say it's like it's
leads.
Yeah, what leads the beacon that leads you through the sea is laughter. If you find laughter, you probably found something good. You're probably in the good place.
Why?
So wait, I'll finish that seal and then I'll explain, because it's pretty much the things we said before about the divine comedy, right? Divine comedy is deeper than the tragedy, and the comedy and laughter is a way to take instincts which were regulated by tragedy and release them, and after they're released, use them as a force to express and to overcome. So you are actually overcoming the regulation and the tragedy of the instincts. So it said, if ever I have played dice with the gods at the divine table of the earth, so that the earth quaked and ruptured and shorted forth fire streams. All right? So once you start acting and creating out of yourself, what you're doing is you're what you call throwing the dice on the play dice with the gods on the divine table, like the divine game table of the gods. You can never, because it's all chaos, you can never predict what your actions will bring forth. You can never predict what new concept and ideas might produce in the world. It's okay. You can put a post on Facebook and wake up the day after and you're banned and everyone talks about it on the news. Oh my God, this guy. Yeah, you know. But you could. The thing is, you couldn't predict it. You know. So you throw in new concept, new words, new deeds, and you see what happens. You are humble enough not to build a Tower of Babel to control everything. You're humble enough to throw the dice on the board on the game board of the gods. And then you get banned from Facebook. And it says, for a divine table is earth. All right, the earth, which engulfs all the animals and the instincts of man, which one puts his faith upon. It says, for a divine table is the earth, and trembling with new creative dictums and dice casts of the gods. So new words, new ideas, new concept, they represent deeper instincts, or instincts which overcome lower instincts. The more those ideas and concepts come from a deeper instincts, which right, fertilizes the mind with new ideas, right? So what he's trying to say is that our mind, our thoughts, our ideas are a representation of a certain instinct or physiological movement within us. And the deeper we go into the abyss, we find deeper instinct. And the deeper the abyss, tehom. And the deeper instinct we find in the abyss each new instinct we find in the abyss is able to use our mind to come up with new concepts and ideas and codes of morality. So the deeper they are, the more subtle they are, the more people are not aware of them, and the more it will trigger people without knowing they're triggered by it, because they're not aware of the chaos which they have behind them. But you're able to trigger them with new ideas because you discover those instincts within yourself, or you're aware of them, you're able to define them, and now you're able to bring in new ideas and words and concepts into the world until you get to the, I would say, the deepest instinct, which would be the rose, which we will talk about here in a moment. So this is the third part. Now we're throwing in new creative. After you let it die, you separate yourself from false ideas, and now you create and you throw the dices. And when you keep on throwing the dices enough, you get to the fourth seal where you find the philosopher's stone.
So the sweetness is to throw the dice.
Sweet, yeah, because creation, being creative, to create is what sweetens things. It's what he says, what brings joy to you. The joy comes from creating.
So it's of the letting go, of the reason, of the trying to make sense of the known.
And that would be the first part, but the creative process is actually right. So he throws himself into the abyss, but when he comes back, okay, the abyss comes up with a new instinct, which starts to whisper very, very, very quietly to his mind, new concept. That's the moment of creation. But it's also a moment where he defines something new. But this time he doesn't define something which denies an instinct or deny life. Don't do this, or this is too bad, or don't be excessive in this. He defines something which life loves, which inspires life, which inspires that instinct to grow. כן? סבבה.
לא, הכל טוב. תמשיך, תקצור.
בזכור, 12:15, שנייה, נדבר שנייה ונמשיך. כן, יש לנו קצת עבודה לעשות אחר כך.
לקרוא אותך, להתחיל את פרק 4 בלעדינו,
להכין אותו, כן. אז... Okay, so to explain this concept of what does it mean that all of your instincts are disciplined and go in one direction to one purpose, which is the discipline of the overman. Now they're still chaotic. They're not disciplined in a way which they go step by step exactly like you plan, because you can't plan the chaos. But you're able to create an artistic monument or totem which brings them all together, all those forces together to get you where you want. How does that's why he uses the example that life is a woman. Why? Because if you look at the right.
Why? That's enough. Why?
Yeah, no. I mean, if you look at the Holy Grail, if you look at Don Quixote, Don Quixote. So if that guy in the beginning of the book where he's all chaotic and kind of stupid and goofy, once he sees that woman, all of his instincts, all of his forces, it binds them together into one purpose. Suddenly he can overcome every obstacle. But what actually it is, that this is the power where he falls down into abyss and he comes up with a new concept or new idea or new artistic definition, which brings his instincts together to drive him somewhere. Just like when the how you call it, the knight, he sees the princess, all of his forces, he's goofy in the beginning, but now he's able to, all of his forces, all of his instincts are in a way directed towards here it's towards eternity, but in those books it's toward that princess. So yeah. So that's what it meant. So you can create orderly ideas and concepts and art but which inspires one to transcend and not deny one's nature. And so once he throws the dice enough times, he will find now in 4 the Philosopher's Stone. And the Philosopher's Stone is spoken to like this. He says, "If ever I have drunk a full draught of the foaming spice and confection." מה זה הקונפקשן שם?
בתקציף.
מקציף, אז יפה, אז מקציף זה בדיוק מה שחשוב פה.
למה?
תכף אני...
מה המשפט המלא?
We'll say, okay, if ever I have drunk a full draught of the foaming spice and confection bowl in which all things are well mixed. A bowl, it's like a cup which all things are well mixed.
All the spices.
If ever my hand has mingled the furthest with the nearest, fire with spirit, joy with sorrow, and the harshest with the kindest. Okay, it's all it's all dualities. And again, I'll remind you, these are all dualities which exist only in language and only in the mind. All right, but he has the bowl which can mix them together. The confection bowl mix well. Okay, so if I myself, okay, this is a self, am a grain of the saving salt, which is Jesus, or another name for Jesus, or the Philosopher's Stone, which maketh everything in the confection bowl mix well. For there is a salt which uniteth good with evil, and even the evilest is worthy as spicing and as final over foaming.
Okay. Also in English, salt, I don't know if in German it's like with a grain of salt, it's like with laughter. So if he is the element of the laughter that binds all the other elements together, all the conflict and all the dualities in mind.
כן, אני גם רציתי.
לא הבנתי את המשפט מילים.
כמו מפולפל.
ככה זה עם קורטוב של מלח?
קורטוב
של מלח באנגלית זה כאילו זה משהו מצחיק.
בקריצה.
והוא מתאר את עצמו כאן כקמצוץ של מלח, שלמעשה הוא החומר שבין, שמאחד את הדואליות ואת ה...
אגב, החוק הראשון של קומדיה זה לקחת... בהמשך לזה, באמת, זה לקחת שתי סיטואציות נפרדות לחלוטין ולערבב אותן. באמת. זה לקחת, מה מצחיק אותנו זה לראות משהו, זה משייקספיר, באמת משייקספיר, משהו שלא במקום שלו.
כן.
כל הקומדיה של טעויות גם.
נכון. זה עניין של סיטואציות
כל אחד חושב בסרט משלו, כל אחד מדבר על משהו אחר, אבל בסוף כל מבינים ש...
להוציא דברים מהקשרם.
זה מה שמצחיק,
כן.
הזכרת לי שפעם אחת ניסיתי להסביר לגרמניה את המשפט, מה הסרט שלך, ואמרה לי שאצלהם הם דווקא משתמשים בזה אחרת, אתה נמצא בסרט הלא נכון. ככה אצלם המשפט עובד.
אצלם יש להם סרטים.
So first of all, who was born out of the foam of the sea? It was Venus, right? Aphrodite. She's the goddess of sensuality, and always in the mythologies, matter and the earthly matters and sensuality was depicted as the woman, as chaos, and as the sea. And out of the foam of the sea comes Venus. Now he is the cup, which has this, which has the chaos and the order within it, and the way he's able to do it. Okay, the Philosopher's Stone is actually that he's the let's say the cup is not full, right? It's empty. He's an empty cup for Aphrodite and the sensuality and matter to pour in, for the chaos to pour in. So his mind is empty in order to give place to the chaos and not make sense of it, but to have within him all the ideas that are trying to order the chaos together with the chaos which constantly breaks them apart, but giving it the place. Now, I told you that he tells about the secret, it's in part 3 where he says, if ever a breath hath come to me of the creative breath and of the heavenly necessity which compelleth even chances to dance star dances. So when thoughts are overloading the mind and make us tired and bored and not able to actually do deeds, right? The mind comes over deed like a parasite. So we might even see that our and I think it's something that he's kind of trying to say here, that if you look at the cycles of your breath, they might be not deep and very fast. You might be breathing like. Now, the breath of, let's say, a more natural breath of someone whose body, let's say, if you look at your body in the day when you need to go to work and the day when you don't need, then when you wake up, the day you need to go to work, you see that the time frame you put yourself into, opposed to the time of the body that the body takes to wake up, these are two opposing timelines. Timelines of getting ready to work is it's not deep breathing, it's fast, it's very tachliti, and on days, let's say you don't work, the waking up is very slow and it takes the time. It can even take until noon, and so the breath is much more deep, much more slow. The cycles of the breath. So prolonging the cycles of the breath, they kind of empty the cup, or they put you in a higher state where you can see the thoughts forming. You're not in a place where you identify with the thoughts, which is fast cycles of breathing, but in a more deeper cycle of breath, you can, transcend those, not transcend those thoughts, but are able to look from above, not identify with them exactly.
Have a perspective, not just resolution in the specification of what is going on.
Not identifying
like
them.
the oak or like the eagle.
And not identifying with them is not executing them into action. So you have all these chaotic instincts fighting with each other, using your mind, each one for his own will and for his own deed, and you might identify with one of them and just do something which is a coincidence, a chance. But a lot bigger breath would see the bigger story, which is just chaos, pointless chaos, just what it is. And the overcoming comes that the more you're in this state, that's how the cup, the philosopher's stone now is in this state. Aphrodite, all right, the sea, the chaos can pour in, and whilst it pours in, and you are able to not deny but engulf good and evil, chaos and order within you. So after, let's say, 7 days or enough time, deeper ideas emerge into them, are whispered to the mind. New and deeper ideas are whispered into the mind. But one of the secrets I think he tries to say is the creative breath. What is the creative breath? It's the cycles of the breath. It takes you out of the identification of small thoughts, of small instincts trying to utilize your reason to order you. Now deeper instincts are ordering things or giving purpose to things. But you need to have faith in the chaos. Yeah.
Does that? You repeat this. That you have to reach deeper instincts and kind of utilize these instincts to overcome sort of other instincts. But instincts, by definition, and that is human nature. So does that mean that human nature is overcoming?
Yeah, and not only human nature, nature in itself. And he says life whispers to him, I am what needs to overcome itself eternally. That's the...
So, okay, what are we overcoming if human nature is overcoming? So why the hell people are...
I understand the question because you say if that is human nature, then the nature will do it yourself. So exactly what's interesting about the cup needs to be empty. I mean, that is human nature, and that's why you don't try to define anything. You let the chaos. You let yourself be immersed in the chaos. And when you don't, those obstacles which don't let it, these are actually really the unnatural person you create for yourself in your mind.
You forgot the ape.
The ape, yeah. The ape.
The fullness of the cup.
Yeah.
The fact that the cup is full is not letting the natural process of overcoming to get into actuation.
Yeah. Exactly, and when you're not overcoming, that's exactly. It's not natural, but I think what he's trying to say that the identification with the reason that is a byproduct of the language, was a byproduct of nature. The over-identifying with it is really unnatural, and it creates those obstacles and tragedy which are unnatural to those instincts. But I understand the question. If it's natural, why doesn't it just overcome by itself, right?
Why is it a problem?
Why not? Yeah. Where is the problem? Well, it's like he would say, like in one of his articles, like the problem started. I would say not a problem, but it was a flux, a mistake. Language came to man, and he out of nowhere, out of a flux. And it's a confusion. It's not that he's. I would say it's more from what. כן. כן. כן, הוא ידע. But it's more of a confusion that doesn't let self-overcoming. But there are people who will fight it. Yeah, what they are actually doing is actually fighting human nature. It's what they're doing. It's a confusion. It's because they believe that fighting human nature is the noble. Yeah.
This is the culture. This is the religious. This is everything. All the structures.
Yeah, but in themselves, the creation of them, just the creation of them, is a great thing, because they themselves, in creating them, their creation brought in an overcoming, or brought in a nation, or brought in something which is bigger than just this man. So those poets, all right, so they didn't come up only with the stories that defined the angels, but they also pretty much, Rabella pretty much invented the language, and Dante, he invented the Italian language. Shakespeare. Yeah.
Historical.
But really, overcoming is putting away the obstacles. It's I would say it's not. In a way, you can look at it as just it's putting away the obstacle. It's emptying the cup, so it can be full. Yeah.
Can be filled again, or what?
Yeah, if your cup, it's like the Grateful Dead say: if your cup is full, may it be filled again.
Yeah, but I mean, doesn't make sense. It has to be empty forever, because if you fill it, then you have to. I mean, again, sort of fill of all kind of things that are not needed or non-natural, as you say.
Yeah. So that's why your work. I think your work is always. That's why he said what binds is Ken Halav HaKadosh. What binds thing is the holy no, the saying no to tzivuim, to
Commands.
Yeah, saying no to commands or to moralities. Those things, all right, where he breaks systems of morality which are not according to human nature, or not according to a deeper human nature. He empties the cup. He empties the cup, pretty much. But this is what makes the cup being filled again. Right.
The holy bread.
How do you? Human nature, is it something given? Is it something given? When you say human nature, is it something given which you have to discover, but it's there, or is it? Yeah, that's the question.
I think what he says is what in man's what part of man is commanding his life and action? Is what commanding is more of his nature, or where his deepest nature is the first form of all other instincts, is self-overcoming. If that's what commands everything, or...
אצל ניטשה זה מקום שהוא חש, ואחר כך בהמשך של הקו מחשבה הזה זה הופך לשכחה.
כן.
ניטשה לא מדבר על שכחה של העצמיות, הוא מדבר על הכחשה של העצמיות.
עבוד העולם זוכה בעולמו שלו, יש לו. כן, he has a sentence here where he says, the man who lost his world gains the entire world. I mean, it is a process mostly of letting it, נתת למשל עם האצטרובל, okay? Of letting the things grow, of taking away obstacles. Right? It's more about taking away the obstacle. The binding force is what takes away, it's the chaos that takes away obstacles and lets the first form express itself. And it really is, in a sense, and it is important, that the mind and the man is passive to those instincts, to that nature. And being passive to it is being an empty cup, is taking away the obstacles. So you can...
what is passive?
Passive.
Passive.
Okay. Okay, so this is the Philosopher's Stone.
Wait, but he's coming back to the salt again, which is very nice because this is the alchemic process that you like so much. And the salt also in cooking is the parameter that gives the spice to the food, yes, to the food of life.
So yeah, again, so the cup is filled. Now, if you go to the Holy Grail stories, you will see that the cup was fallen down by the crown jewel
of... Is actually describing the...
but the spice, the foaming spice, what it is really
the secret ingredient.
The spice.
But anyway... מה שאת אומרת על הספייס זה באמת שכן, להשתמש באותם אינסטינקטים, כן, כמו שבקונג פו פנדה עכשיו הרעב מוביל אותו. זה ספייס, כן, הרעב הזה הוא טוב.
Spice of life, yes.
But the cup needs to be empty and not try to command those. Yeah, okay. So, okay, let's go to the four seal. And now, what is being poured into the cup? If ever I have drunk a full draught of the foaming spice and sorry. Okay.
זה חלק מהאינטרנטי.
Five now is...
אפשר שנייה בעברית, רק שנייה אחת. אני לא הבנתי את כל הקטע עם המלח והקצף. ואז אני כאילו, מה זה? מה הקטע של המלח?
אז רגע, הוא אומר...
זה יותר ממוקדת.
רגע, אז אמרתי... כן. אז קודם כל הוא אומר, המלח שמחבר את הטוב עם הרע, אוקיי? המלח שמחבר את ה... וזה בעצם, המלח הוא שם אחר... הוא אומר, הנה, for there is a salt which uniteth good with evil, and even the evilest is worthy as spicing and as a final over-foaming.
מקודם אמרת אבל משהו שנשמע לי הרבה יותר הגיוני, שהמלח מחבר בין השמש לירח.
וגם בין טוב לרע, כן. שמש, ירח, טוב לרע, סדר בקר.
לא, שמש וירח וטוב ורע זה שני דברים שונים לחלוטין. שמש וירח זה זכר...
לא, אני דיברתי על האריה הירוק שמחבר את השמש והירח בסמלים שלהם, ופה הוא מדבר על מלח שמחבר את הטוב עם הרע, אבל זה גם, בוא נאמר, הייתי אומר, זה ברובד המוסרי, אוקיי? זה הכל רבדים, שמש, ירח, גבר, אישה, טוב ורע, אור וחושך, מים ואש, זאת אומרת...
זאת אומרת, בכלל סמל הניגודים. בכלל סמל לניגודים, לא משנה איזה ניגוד.
כן, לא, אבל טוב ורע כאן במובן של סדר וכאוס. טוב ורע זה כבר שפה מוסרית, אבל טוב ורע במובן של...
זה בולשיט, זה סדר וכאוס, זה לא טוב ורע, כאילו...
לא, אנחנו...
זה תהליכים.
זה תהליכים, אבל הם קודמים לטוב ורע. טוב ורע זה שמות שנתנו להם.
בסדר, אבל זה לא מעניין אותנו, אנחנו מזמן כבר זרקנו את ה...
לכאורה, לאו דווקא.
תחשוב, לפני בריאת העולם.
אבל לא, שאתה יודע, כשהוא מדבר על טוב ורע, אז זה גם ברובד המוסרי וזה גם כן, ובמיוחד ראינו את זה הלוחות חדשים וישנים, שטוב ורע בעיקר מסמנים את העיקרון של סדר וכאוס, ואז אנחנו באים עם השפה המוסרית ואומרים, סדר זה טוב, כאוס זה רע.
בסדר, אוקיי.
אז המלח, כד המזק, זה זה שמסוגל להכיל את שניהם. זה שיש בו את שניהם. עכשיו...
מה מסמל המלח בכימיה?
המלח הוא גם סמל של הפילוסופר סטון בסופו של דבר. ובאמת, הוא אומר, המלח זה שם אחר לכד המזק שבתוכו נמזגים, כן? הטוב והרע. אבל הוא אומר, המלח המחבר את הטוב והרע, או כד המזק, אז מה שזה בעצם, בסופו של דבר...
זה הטעם, כאילו זה ה...
לא, הספייס זה הרע. הוא אומר, כן, איך הוא אומר את זה?
למה ספייס עכשיו...
Oh, how could I not be... רגע, for there is a salt which united good with evil, and even the evilest, אפילו הרע ביותר, is worthy as a spicing and as a final overfoaming. כן, הרע ביותר, המקציף הטוב ביותר. זאת אומרת, זה הכוח החזק ביותר.
אני חושבת שהמלח הוא דווקא הוא זה... שהסיקרט אינגרידיאנט כזה.
לא, הוא אינגרידיאנט במובן שעכשיו ההכרה שלך, אוקיי, כשהיא ריקה, אז היא מסוגלת לייצר דימויים ולייצר ערכים שרק מקציפים יותר את האינסטינקט, רק מקציפים יותר, רק נותנים לו הרבה יותר כוח. ואז, איפה הוא מדבר? בפרק הקודם, מה אומרת לו חיים? חיים זה כל הכאוס הזה של כל החיות וכל זה. ואז חיים אומרת לו, אם חוכמתך תעזוב אותך, גם אני אעזוב אותך כי אני מקנאת בה. כי עכשיו, כשהנפש שלו, הסדר, מה שעושה סדר בעולם, הוא ביחד עם החיים, הערכים שהוא מייצר הם ערכים, כן, כשהוא עכשיו נסוג בחזרה מהחיים, בחזרה אל הנפש, ליצור ערכים חדשים או הבחנות חדשות, סדר בקר. עכשיו הסדר שהוא, הערכים האלה, פתאום כן, הוא עוזב את החיים, אבל אלה דברים שגורמים לה לקנות, אז זה מביא אותה, זה כמו האביר עכשיו, כל הכוחות שלו אל עבר הנסיכה. אבל הוא מסוגל עכשיו להשתמש בהכרה שלו, לייצר ערכים ולייצר דימויים הם כמו איזשהו גזר, הם כמו איזשהו טריגר לאותם חיות לאיזשהו כיוון אחד, הם כולם רוצים להגיע לשם. במקרה הזה אצל גבר זה בצורה, זאת אומרת, במשל הכי פשוט גבר ואישה, גבר רואה את האישה נאמר רחוק והוא עובר מסע נורא גדול כדי להגיע, זאת אומרת, פתאום הוא כבר לא עייף, פתאום אין לו בעיה, לא יודע, לישון רק 3 שעות בלילה כל החיות, זה כמו עם ילד קטן כזה שהוא עושה בעיה טוב, תסתכל, כאילו, ואתה חושב כאילו שאין מצב בכלל לעשות איתו משהו, הוא תמיד יעשה בלגן, אז טוב, תסתכל את הפה, יש שוקולד, פתאום קסם, כאילו, שוקולד זהו, כל הכוחות שלו, הוא זן מאסטר עכשיו, כי פתאום הוא, כן, הוא פתאום דוגן.
אפשר פשוט להגיד, בוא נשחק פה משחק השקט.
זה לעבוד עליו, זה לא יצליח תמיד.
לא, זה מצליח.
הילדים שלי היו מחוברים למחשב כמה זמן, והם פשוט היו קוראים ב2 בלילה למחשב. מ2 בלילה, הם היו ערים, זהו.
כן, פתאום יש לך כוח? למה ללוח זמנים הרגיל של כולם אין לך כוח? טוב, בכל אופן.
שמעתי איזה מישהו שצד חזירי בר, כאילו שהוא אוכל אוכל שהוא צד, יש כאלה. אז הדבר שהוא אמר, שכאילו דווקא חושבים, נגיד, שהכי קל לצוד את החזירה שיש לה גורים וזה וזה, אז הוא אמר, מה פתאום, הכי קל לצוד את הזכר שמריח נקבה מיוחמת, ואז הוא כאילו לא רואה ממטר שום דבר. כן, הוא הולך. הוא דיסטרב לחלוטין, ואז הוא...
זה יותר מוסרי, האמת.
זה הרבה יותר מוסרי.
עכשיו, now we get to what is being poured into the cup, okay?
זה ראשי החזירה מאשר להרוג סתם אימא.
כן, אז חכה רגע, עוד שנייה.
אבל הוא בעצם מיוחם כי הוא רוצה להביא עוד צאצאים. אז בסופו של דבר זה אותו דבר. זה לא מוסרי.
לא, יש לך טבעונית, שום דבר מזה לא מוסרי.
מעבר לטוב ולרוע. זה לא חיה כשרה, לא צריך להרוג אותו מראש.
נכון, נכון, זהו, זה העניין.
בגלל זה לא מוסרי.
אוקיי. אז ככה, עכשיו מה שנמזג לתוך כד המזג, אוקיי? Now once we have the philosopher's stone, all right, the philosopher's stone, it went through each instinct and removed the obstacle, and now he has a clear mind. He has a clear mind, and and Kaz can just go through him, and there is no distinction between subject and object, and macrocosmos, his body, and microcosmos, his body, and macrocosmos, the sea and the world. Now, once there's no distinctions, let's see what is being poured into the cup.
You don't read the last.
Yeah, I leave it to the end because it's a social call. So he says, if I be fond of the sea and all that is sea-like, and fondest of it when it angrily contradicted me, where life is hard because it makes you stronger, right? And life is hard. If the exploring the light be in me, which impelleth sails to the undiscovered, if the seafarers the light be in my delight. Well, anyway, he's going through the chaos to places where and instincts and trying to define instincts which no one has ever defined before. I'll just give you like one example. What does it, mean? A stupid example. So and how it can make things even lighter and funny. So let's say you have a friend, and זה קטע שלוקח ממערכון של החמישייה הקאמרית, אבל פשוט כדי לתת דוגמה למה זה כשאתה מזהה משהו בתהום ומביא את זה לידי ביטוי, ואז פתאום, כן, זה לא איזה משהו בצורה טובה, בוא נאמר, שימוש באומנות, כן. So let's say you have a friend and he doesn't always want to do, or he always talks, no, I want to do that, but I just can't. And you always go through the same conversations where he wants to do something, but he never really does it. And you discover, and you start listening to him, you discover maybe he likes to cry a little bit. And then one day, after 2 years, you know him, and it suddenly dawns upon you how to define what's going on with this guy. And then, זה, אם אתה קצת אגרסיבי, אבל... אז אתה בא אליו, ויום אחד הוא בא ואחר אומר, כן, אני נורא רוצה לטוס, אבל אתה יודע, אם אני אעשה, זה לא יצא, זה עושה, אז אני לא יודע, ואז כזה, אז אתה בא אליו, אתה אומר, אתה יודע כמו מה זה נשמע לי? אתה יודע כמו מה זה עושה מה? נשמע לי כמו, אוי אוי אוי, אוי אוי אוי, מה אני אעשה? עכשיו, זה היה מהמערכון שלך.
חמישייה קאמרית.
כן, 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 עכשיו. They were able, it's like he was able to find this small subtle...
זה בדיוק כמו שמן ששר לה ונגע לה
בדיוק. זה בדיוק זה.
קרן מור, זה לא חמישה הקרב.
זה קטע חזק אבל. פתאום אתה מתוך כל הכאוס הזה, עם ההיכרות עם החבר שלך, knowing that friend, suddenly you are able to define artistically exactly his problem. Maybe not as a psychologist with all of his, I read Freud, so yeah, you probably have this and that, but you know what that sounds to me? It sounds to me like, how will I do it? I'm a Polish man. And then suddenly first of all, it's light. It makes it funny. But the ability to define his problem this way. Yeah. So, okay. So he said, so now maybe even, now what's interesting about it, you might be even defining things which are not even defined yet. you might define, a certain characteristic which there is no word for. This it's a new thing, and now that we define it, we can recognize it when you're stopping this shit,
כן.
This is, right? So this is falling into abyss and bringing, right?
רגע, אבל איך הגעת לזה מהקטע הפואטי?
So, because he says, he goes through,
זה הסומדיה, לקחת שתי דברים שלו.
So, the reason I did it is that he goes through the sea and he's trying to find new land not defined yet inside the chaos. So I'll say, what does it mean to define new ideas out of this chaos, bringing new out of the abyss, new forms to life, new artistic or ideas out to life. So this suddenly, when you hear enough your friend, you say, actually, it doesn't sound like you have a real problem. It sounds like it just you like to cry. You have this no. There is no word to define this problem you have, but this is new. I'm able to listen to it. I'm able to hear it finally. So it's like, if I be fond of the sea, and all that is sea-like, and fondest of it when it angrily contradicts me, and then, this is where I took it from now, if the exploring delight be in me, which impelleth sails to the undiscovered, if the seafarer's delight be in my delight. Okay, going into the chaos, into the abyss, to the places where no one, to utter the unutterable, to define things which are still undefinable in the chaos, alright? So, if ever my rejoicing hath called out, the shore hath vanished, now hath fallen from me the last chain, the boundless roareth around me, far away sparkle for me space and time, well, cheer up, old heart.
מדהים, רגע, בעברית, שנייה. אם קראה בי מאודי העליזות, החוף נעלם, אתה נשרה מעליי השלשלת האחרונה. כן? החוף נעלם, אתה נשרה מעליי השלשלת האחרונה. האין גבול גואש סביבי, החלל והזמן זוהרים לי, הרחק הרחק, חזק ואמץ לזקן.
Now the boundaries between the cup and what's poured inside, between macrocosm and microcosm, is dissolved, absolutely dissolved. 6. Now 6, he finds the gold. Now this is the gold. All right. So what is the gold? And this is, all right. This is what we've been. Now one warning before I read this. All right. It's very easy.
It's not for children.
No, actually, it's the problem with it. Well, the problem with it is that we can read it, and that's the gold. And now, when we know that's the gold, we can confuse. I would say. בוא נאמר. we can take, this is like the end of the story. I was like, okay, now I know the end of the story, I know the secret, and this is what it is, I'll just use it in my, but, if you just go tackle it like that, you forget everything that was prior to it, the discovering, the process of finding the gold. That's the gist of it. The gold himself, I could have told it to you in the first meeting, but it would mean nothing.
You need to discover.
Yeah, you need to discover it. Now, and it's impossible to use this gold without understanding how it's being formed.
Yes.
So let's you will understand when we read it now. So if my virtue, now the virtue, that's the gold, right? The virtue is the gold. On golden tablets is where he writes his virtues. That's the gold. If my virtue be a dancer's virtue, okay, it's not a passive body, it's a dancing body. It's a dancing Shiva, because Shiva has destruction and creation in both of his hands, and that's create the dance of the universe. So we went over it many times. So he said, if my virtue be dancer's virtue, and if I have often sprung with both feet into golden emerald rapture. Okay? Zahav is Magrad. Is Margad. And now, if my wickedness be a laughing wickedness, at home among rose banks and hedge of lilies. So this is really the rose. A rose is is like the Big Bang. It's the first form and cause of, let's say, of joy, of creation.
אם רשעותי, רשעות צוחקת, בת בית בין סוכות ורדים ומשוחות חבצלות.
For in laughter is all evil present, but it is sanctified and absolved by its own bliss. Now, what I read before we started reading it is that when he talked about all that is evil, that says no, that breaks structures and all, that goes through the chaos, that brings in the abyss to life. If all that will come together, one truth will come out of it, one great truth. So what binds all this chaos together? What binds all this evil together? What binds it together is laughter. And laughter is the gold. What he finds underneath everything, underneath the abyss, alright, after he overcomes tragedy, is the laughter. And that's how he finds the gold. And laughter, being able to laugh at the greatest tragedies, is overcoming those tragedies. And bringing laughter into life is putting away the yoke of logic and reason and structures, which might not be even reason. Yeah. Name of the rose. Yeah. Now I will give you the example, which I think explains this very well. The example comes from. Well, there is a name of the rose. You can give that example if you want. Well, but I brought in an example of a part of a movie I translated. Maybe I've even told you about it. From the movie from Lenny Bruce. Dustin Hoffman plays Lenny Bruce. And he starts a scene where he comes up to the stage and he said, "Are there any niggers here tonight?" And some, shh, quiet. What did he say? Are there any niggers here tonight? Well, no, there's one nigger. There's a nigger right there in the kitchen, and everyone, oh my God. And there's another nigger. That's two niggers. Hey, what? I see a kike and another kike. That's two kikes and three niggers. And there's a spickball.
מה זה קייק?
יהודון. And then, אז הוא בא, see, here's a spickball, כן, זה פרנק, זה הספרדים, מהגירה הספרדית, וכל מיני כאלה, ואז הוא עובר אחד על כל המהגרים עכשיו, ואז, and he finishes up, it goes, and another nigger, and another spick, and a kite. האמת שזה לא יאמן, because in the end of it, he goes to one of the black guys and says, oh, and here's one last hunky, funky, boogie, woogie, boogie. Boogie, 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 boogie. and like the black guy looks at him like that, like he's gonna punch him. He's the first stand-up comedian ever. George Carlin is a student, how do you call it, Bill Hicks. All of them come from Lenny Bruce. And then he got, okay, I got 7 kites, 4 spicks, and 8 niggers, sold American. You know? And then everyone laughs. And so let me explain what happened here. Alright? So and what he tries to say, you know, just imagine yourself if Kennedy, you know, it wasn't the days of Kennedy, he would just come up to the television screen and say, I want to introduce to you all the niggers in my cabinet. And it would just go, nigger, 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 boogie, 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 boogie. The word would lose of its power. And so it's the suppression of the word that brings in the violence and makes it violence and make people, right? That's why I myself am very against politically correctness. Because it brings in the violence. It brings in the sin.
The N-word. היה ב-2006 טקס שלם של טקס קבורה.
כן.
שקברו אותה.
איזה מילה?
ניגר.
כן?
זה N-word.
זה N-word.
כן, אנחנו לא...
חשבתי שאולי זו מילה אחרת.
המילה הזאת.
Anyway, what I was trying to say, the control of thought, the control, all right, the control, first of all, it's 1984, but that is what brings in the, it's when, really, so anyway, that's how, I think the example I bring in of how laughter can bring in integration, can bring in, can lower, and it says if Kennedy would do that, then a black kid, if he heard someone call him a nigger in school, he would laugh. He was like, all right, and won't go back and cry and build a whole scene out of it, right? And that is how laughter can soothe things in, bring in the gold. And what is gold? What's the difference between gold and lead? Gold is more molich, is a conductor. It's a better conductor. And then now he goes to the final conclusion. What this gold does to your mind? What this gold does to your mind? What this gold actually means? All right? Because now the mind is not. The mind now is not engaged in a how you call it? The mind is not engaged anymore in a dialect of duality of language, where but now it's but now it's a language. Now it's a language that does not deal with good and evil and the duality. It's a language that talks about the abyss and what is in the abyss. And those things which you bring up, what comes up on the other side is happiness, is laughter, and that's why he says, do not talk anymore, sing, because once the instincts utilizes the mind to say new ideas, then it actually sings them, it defines them through singing, and that's why he says, man overcame each animal through a triumphant sound. That means when we overcame an animal, we recognize ourselves in the evolutionary process, that animal within us. We're able to kind of mimic it move. We're able to overcome it by, throwing away sounds that it makes or confusing it, and then overcoming it. And when we overcame it, we did a hey, a yay, a wow, a yeah. We overcame that, and that is how you use language and talk. All right, and that use brings in joy, because you talk about what there is and not about spiritual concepts which try to define and regulate your nature, but from nature to define spiritual concepts which are, for him, can be infinite, beyond the rainbow, right? Because now that his spiritual is lifted, now that his mind is not regulated by, let's say, political correctness or other things, but it's now free. It's free thinking. It can think high. It can think big. It can bring big ideas to the lower instincts. Now, and bring inspiring big ideas to the lower instincts to drive him wherever. But the way down, the way up is a down. Going down, the way you walk down is laughter. Right? Laughter is, anyway, that's, you find the lead, it's tragedy, and you turn it into gold. And you know it's gold because now it's laughter. Drugs is no laughing matter, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, 7, it's the last one. Now,
last but not least.
Now what happens to his mind? He finds the gold, and now the samadhi. Okay, the samadhi. Nirvana, samadhi. If ever I have spread out a tranquil heaven above me, and have flown into mine own heaven with mine own opinions. Now he talked about the blue indigo bell, which and sky, which every time he lifted an instinct from lead to gold, now his mind is able to be clear. When he's smiling, when he's happy, when he's singing, his mind is able to encompass the ideas that chaos brings in. and now his instinct can climb up the heavens, which is his mind, which is his thoughts, which is his ideas, and his highest idea and highest hope, the overman. So the thing is, these are his own. I mean, these are his own things. What he does, all right, his deeds, they first and foremost trigger himself. It makes him laugh. It doesn't make the mob laugh. Making the mob laugh is easy. Now you need to be artistic, and the instinct you bring in when you make the mob laugh is actually an evidence, he says, that instinct is probably the most intelligent form known to man, because you don't know how, but this instinctive shlifot me'amoten, those instinctive punchlines, they make people laugh. But if you improvise them out of instinct, you don't really understand where they came from, but if they make other people laugh, that's an evidence that it's a sort of an intelligence, but now he's not interested in what triggers the mob. You understand the mob are reflections of his own instincts. He's trying to trigger himself and trigger deeper and deeper and deeper and turn himself into gold. So but the deeper he goes, the higher the sky and his hopes get. The higher the skies and his overmen and ideas get, אז הוא אומר, ככה אני נהיה קשה יותר. He's become harder. It's harder to reach his goal, and he becomes harder, and where he gets to is harder to reach as well. So that's where he talks about toughen up. Like you toughen up by raising the bar, raising the hopes. Anyway, I was drifting. So if ever I have spread out tranquil heaven above me, and have flown into mine own heaven, with mine own opinions, if I have swum playfully in profound luminous distances, and if my freedoms a vain wisdom hath come to me. Thus, however, speaketh a vain wisdom. הוואין זה כאילו ציפור, כן? חוכמת ציפורים, כן? אם עשיתי את זה, אז תגיע לחוכמת ציפורים. This is important. The bird wisdom is actually a reference, I think, to Hermes Trismegistus. He was portrayed as a bird, and the language of the alchemist, the secret language of the alchemist, as opposed to the regular language of civil society, the secret language of the alchemist was called the bird language. It's the bird language. It's also a concept that I think came from the Sufis as well, but it's called the bird language. There's many reasons for that. The first writings were mimicking the footsteps of birds or animals. The first letters. The Egyptian? עכשיו אפילו הכנעני, אבל גם, I think maybe also the Egyptian. And the god of wisdom who taught language was Hermes Trismegistus. He had a head of a bird.
זה אותו אחד.
Yeah, exactly.
אותו כאילו, טריסמגיסטר הוא גלגול של טוס,
כן, that's right, כן. So the thing is, this is the wisdom of Hermeticism, the deepest wisdom of Hermetic. What does the gold tell you? The deepest instinct in the abyss, the gold, the laughter tells you. It tells you this. That, however, speaketh bird wisdom. Lo, there is no above and no below. There is no duality. It's only something of the language. There is no duality. There's no above and no below. Throw thyself about, okay, throw yourself into the abyss. But how to throw yourself? Outward, backward. Okay, into the abyss, out of the abyss. Into the abyss, out for return. Okay, throw thyself about, outward, backward. Thou light one, sing, speak no more. Okay, so אתה כליל. Okay. אז אומר, סרוק את עצמך אל התהום, אבל אני חושב ששם זה תחוק סביב סביב בתרגום בעברית.
והחוצה הוא בחזרה.
אבל לפני זה, סביב סביב?
כן.
לא, אצלנו סביב סביב החוצה אחורה.
עטל את עצמך סביב סביב, והחוצה הוא בחזרה.
Spin yourself round around, and alright, that's the eternal recurrence, and inward, outward. Okay. Into the abyss, out of the abyss, into the abyss, out of the abyss.
Yeah,
but somewhere, well, in eternity, you'll go through the same steps in the abyss again and again and again and again. That's why the animals and the noble ones, they say the same things in the book. They say, we come and learn, we come and see together, we come and join together and disjoin ourselves. Okay, the animals say, we come and join together and disjoin ourselves in the eternal circle. And the noble people, his students, they say, we come and recognize ourselves and join ourselves, and then we go in solitude with ourselves. Because they go into the abyss and out of the abyss. Okay, into the abyss to solitude, out of the abyss. They go out, and the noble people who go in and out of the abyss, they see how each of the other noble people, what instinct he is expressing from the abyss. And so they see themselves in each other. They go into the abyss, out of the abyss. They join, they go. And one of them will command all the other. Because one of them is deeper in the abyss and is able to talk from a deeper overcoming instinct. So he will command all the other in the, let's say, in the nation. So that is the, okay, throw yourself or spin yourself in abyss, in and out, and because you're thou light one, and in the end, because you're defining things from the abyss, you're singing them. So he says, sing, speak no more, because speech is in duality. He talks about good and bad. Right? As I say, it's the difference between the language of the serpent, of good and evil, or the language which God gave to man. Just give the birds and the animals, just give them names. You see this abyss of all those animals, just give them names. Names are, it's not magic. It's no magia where your words, enforce nature. But you see the nature, give them names. Those names, whatever you want, and sing it. It can be fun. After Snow White, after the dark night of the soul, where she finds herself at night, fighting all the trees and her fears and all. She wakes up in the morning, and the first thing she does is she sees all the animals, and so, I was so scared, I thought I died. The first thing she does, she starts singing, right? She starts whistle, to whistle and sing. איך הולך השיר?
אתה זוכר את השיר הזה?
אני זוכר גם איך זה מתחיל, היא מתחילה, and then the bird goes, and then Snow White goes, and the bird starts, and the bird kind of explodes, and then ואז מגיע אייל, אוקיי, והיא עושה ככה עם האצבעות כזה, זה סמל של דיוניסוס כזה, מגיע אייל, ואז היא מתחילה לשיר, וכל החיות מתחילות להוביל אותה אל...
לא, כשגיעה ציפור לא מתפוצצת רק בשרק.
כן, זה רפרנס בשרק.
כן.
איזה הסרטים האלה.
Alright, so wait. And now the bird tells them, are not all words made for the heavy? Alright, the moralic language of the serpent. Okay, that was one of the deepest things I think we brought out of the story, the difference between the language of the serpent and the language that God gave to man. Right? So, are not all words made for the heavy? Okay, the serpent language made for the heavy. Do not all words lie to the light ones? Sing, speak no more. Okay, sing your abyss. And now the end. Oh, how could I not be ardent for eternity? Because the woman is the abyss, but the woman is also in ancient Greece, which Nietzsche defines the one who takes care of the newborn and the old people, so she is responsible for the continuity and eternity of the life from the beginning to the end. So for him, the woman, the abyss, is actually eternity, and not, let's say, okay, that's his eternal feminine. דיברנו על ה-eternal feminine של שמעון פאוסט בקודם ועל ההבדל, אבל חשוב ההבדל.
שמעון פאוסט? באמת?
בפאוסט, הסוף של פאוסט, האביס, ה-eternal feminine
לא היה שם שום שמעון, אחי.
שמעון מגוס, זה מבוסס על שמעון מגוס, בכל זאת.
שמעון פרס, גם.
לא, הסיבה שאמרתי שמעון פאוסט זה כי לפני שנים יש לי חבר שכתב...
לא, זה לא נסלח, אתה לא יכול לדבר.
קודם כל, אני מאוד ממליץ על הספרים שהוא כתב. הוא כתב Testosterone Civilization ו-The Objective Bible, קוראים לו רוי ברזילי, וכשעברנו על הספר הזה וזה, אז כשתיארנו את ההבדל הזה בין...
זה היה מפגש בשפירא, נכון?
מפגש עם רוי ברזילי? לא.
במפגש של ניטשה ושפירא הזכרת אותו. זה היה לפני שנה וחצי.
כן. אז גם היינו עושים הרצאות כאלה פעם, אבל כשהסברנו את זה קראנו לזה שמעון פאוסט, כי היינו גם שמעון מנגוס, גם שמעון פאוסט, גם פאוסט של גתה, אבל ברעיון של להסביר את ההבדל בין ה-eternal feminine של זרתוסטרא, ל-eternal feminine שגם בדיוק בסוף של פאוסט.
אבל לא שמעון, בסדר, אבל לא שמעון.
שמעון מנגוס, בכל זאת, הלן אוף טרוי. בכל אופן.
אז הוא אומר... יש בעיה עם שמעון בכל סוג.
עכשיו הוא אומר, okay, so he wants, now, each instinct brings in a philosophical child, alright? So he wants to bring in the philosophical child with, from eternity. So, because as he said from בנות חווה הזקנות והצעירות, הוא אומר, על האישה לגלות את הילד, the woman should discover the child within the man. Okay, the man, when he's gold, he becomes the child, but it's the woman who discovers the child inside the man. And as I said, the example of the woman for the knight, to bringing all his powers and instinct to get to her, that reveals within himself the child. But you know, it's also physiologically, because they both are supposed to make a child, but he's talking about a philosophical child. This process, this physical process, is actually an evidence for a spiritual process of how you create a philosophical child. Right? For him, the woman, the spiritual concept of the woman, is the eternity, right? Like in ancient Greece. Never yet have I found a woman by whom I should like to have children, unless it be this woman whom I love. For I love thee, O eternity, for I love thee, O eternity. Because for him now, eternity is in this world. It's not the eternity of afterlife, which denies this world. It's the eternity of the abyss, the eternity of this world. And if you're able to take the heaviest thought of the abyss, which is the most nihilistic thought, which nihilistic means that no purpose within it, which means there is no purpose to life. You will fall into the abyss, and while you fall, you will repeat everything again and again, like Sisyphus, pretty much. Like you throw the stone, it comes down, right? But, alright, so this is the most nihilistic. It's nihilistic because history has no purpose, your life has no purpose, and it's heavy, it's something heavy. Because not only that, all the bad instincts, all the bad things at the mob will always come and return. It means through the evolutionary process, even the smallest worm and the monkey are still within us and will still eternally recur as we evolve. We will still be a part of us, and we will still have those instincts within us, no matter how deep we fall. But if you're able to now bring this process, take this process of laughter and laugh at this situation of nihilism, find joy and laughter within nihilism, then you're able to embrace eternity. And it only happens when eternity is and the abyss is this world, and it shifts your language in talking about this world and singing instead of speaking, where speaking is more of a moral language. And so basically the final revelation is the goal is laughter, and that is pretty much what it is. Yeah.
You said one example with laughter was this comedian.
Yeah.
Lenny
Bruce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know the guy, but it sounded like he used some kind of, he built certain tension in the audience. He built it until he released it through laughter. And people sort of, I mean, at least this example sounded to me like this, that people like this release of tension or intensity, and they basically pay money for this because they go to the shows, etc., etc. But I find it difficult. I mean,
he went to jail over it. Yeah. It was a dangerous thing to do.
Anyway, I'm not talking about the particular situation, but about the principle of building a tension and then releasing it.
Yeah.
And then people sort of laugh. And like it.
Yeah.
But I don't see completely how can you. How do you sort of relate this? I don't see completely. Actually, I don't see at all. How can you overcome something which is pretty strong, or if you talk about instincts or human nature, bad human nature, with releasing tension, not with building it and keeping it. But, and from that story, it's at least how you interpreted laughter is releasing the tension. Not keeping
releasing
it.
So
how does it relate to overcoming of?
They are now what he made them now. Because in every other situation, they would hear the word, tension would build, and there would be no laughter. Might even be violence. What you called me? What did you say? Right?
I think it's
and he took a risk. He took a risk, and he was constantly going to jail because of those things. He took a big risk in order to rid them and make them overcome this fear of those words, because those words, if you think about it, they regulated their behavior. And with laughter, he was able to make them overcome it. At least for a night.
אלא זה האבסורד, זה ממש כאילו המקום הזה שאתה הופך את זה למגוחך.
כן.
ואז אתה יכול להתמודד עם זה.
לא, הוא שואל איך המתח נשאר, אתה פורץ בצחוק.
So let me one kind of now Nietzsche says that man invented man is the only creature that laughs. It's an important distinction to understand it. Why man is the only creature? He says man is the only creature that laughs because he had to invent laughter for himself because his pain is the most deepest. And in order to cope with the pain that man has, he had to invent laughter for himself to cope with the tragedy of his existence. And I would say, I would say overcoming is actually overcoming the tension and into lightness. What he says is final samadhi is I'm light, I'm dancing, no tension, no heaviness. Dancing is I would say is also, it's about light, but in order for life, the process to keep on coming, there will be tension, and it's important to say that because that's why he doesn't deny all those things he overcome, because he needs them to overcome them. This joy, this laughter comes from overcoming them.
The tension is coming from life.
Yeah.
It's not coming from the laughter.
No.
laughter releases the tension.
לא, אבל יש פה איזה מסע זה כמו קיטור כזה בסוף, יש פה איזה מסע שבנה את זה.
But in this case it's a byproduct of being able to find joy within life with no purpose, and within this life and the joys of this earth. And now this is the greatest joy, because this is a joy, a purposeless joy. You know, it's not okay? It's unconditional laughter, and it's unconditional. And that is how God is described. God is described without he has no ending and has no beginning. In Hebrew they say he has no reason, has no end, no like means to an end. He has no purpose. And the thing is, we see life as chaos because we just cannot perceive the whole, the absolute of existence. So we just perceive it as chaos. But what it is, it puts us that life itself, the macrocosm, is purposeless. And the more we're in tune with it, the more joy we will find within our life. And the less into it, then the more we try to force, like magia, with words and speech to regulate our behavior in life, the more tragedy we will find. But joy comes out of the passions, out of this life. And he enjoyed. He enjoyed. Saying neger, kike. They were intention not being able to to speak this way, but he I don't know. But everything there are two. There's the Christian overcoming, which will say your passions are rebelling against the word, against reason, and he's talking about the Antichrist overcoming, which what Lenny Bruce did. He made them overcome those terms and words which regulated their behavior, and now they overcame them with laughter. It doesn't. Now the child won't cry anymore when someone will call him a nigger in school. Right? So he overcame it. Right? He didn't overcome it.
מכות בחזרה. לא, דווקא היה שלוחים מעניין. הוא אמר שסביר להניח שכתפו.
עמדה מוסרית.
רבותיי, 1 בלילה ומאוד מאוד מאוד. כן.
I'd just like to add 2 things I think I mentioned before.
Yeah.
It's interesting when you're talking about how chaos creates order. Chaos creating order is basically the biochemical definition of life.
Really?
No, even before that. But the cells, the biological cells use entropy, which is the fact that everything will fall apart.
Yeah, every order structure
to create orders and to create life, which is the direct opposite of entropy. It's taking things and building something new from it. That's on one hand. And on the other hand, evolution is taking chaos, is taking random mutations, is taking happenstances and mistakes, and making something out of it by using it to create order, to give a whole, a universe of options so that something will actually work.
Yeah.
So those are like, even from the most I think physical aspects, you can see that chaos creates order, and you just have to be.
And also, וגם כמובן כמו שאני אוהב, הדוגמה בתורה מתחיל הבריאה מתוהו ובוהו. תוהו ובוהו.
וגם סדר הוא המקרה הפרטי של כאוס.
כן.
זה התיאוריה.
And that's why most of the philosophical systems before Nietzsche started with what is the order of the universe, and if we act by this order, and they always failed. Instead, you start from chaos, guys.
Takes it apart.
I think all the cosmogonies, that's the word, start from chaos.
Cosmogonies.
Cosmogonies, yes. And
Genesis.
You mentioned this story of Aphrodite somehow.
Of Aphrodite.
Aphrodite, yes, connected.
Oui, נכון, עם הקצב.
There is a nice story which, there is a little beginning to this. How she born.
Yeah.
Yes, she was born from drops of blood from castration of uranium.
Exactly. Yeah.
Chronos is logic.
Yeah, and time and logic. Yeah.
Meaning that without reason.
Chronos is time.
Time, yes.
Also time.
Without time, actually, you don't have causality. Without causality, you don't have reason. It's kind of beginning of everything. So it's, how can you deny that it has?
So he talks about it. He talks about the idea of causality. He says the thing of causality is quantifying a sequence. So you have a sequence of things. Something something falls and hits something else. All right, there's a causality. But this sequence of causality, we'll say, exists only in our mind, where we separate he said, life as we see it objectively is constant change and constant movement. But if we start quantifying it with our perception, if we quantify it with human perception, we will see causalities. Because that's how, as Kant says, we cannot perceive life any differently without causality. But it's only a human perception. What there actually is only retzef, only
duration.
Yeah. There is no quantifying to that, and really, let's say it's kind of in the tradition of some of the Gnostics and Neoplatonists that Chronos, all right, is the last sphere to overcome. It is the last boundary of human understanding to overcome between the boundaries of the absolute and the person.
That's how Zeus became a god.
He overcame Cronus.
Yeah. Cronus ate his son.
No,
his own son.
You're a little bit mixed. This is the downwards. He's talk about climbing up the abyss. Those were going down.
אבל זוס גם כן, זאת אומרת, זוס הוא בן של קרונוס, אבל אז הוא גם ניצח אותו.
זוס הוא בן של קרונוס, קרונוס אכל את הילדים שלו, זוס מדבר על הזמן והפך
נכון, אבל אתה פה מסביר את ההשתלשלות של היצירה. כלומר, איך יורדים מהעץ למטה בקבלה, והוא מסביר איך להתגבר ואיך להיות... מה?
אני מדבר על מיתולוגיה יוונית.
נכון, והשלב הזה במיתולוגיה היוונית מסביר את הדרך שאתה יוצר משהו.
מסביר
והוא מדבר על הדרך ההפכה.
איך מתגברים על הזמן באמצעות יצירה.
רגע, לגבי המיתולוגיה היוונית, תשים לב שקרונוס מתגבר על אורנוס, ואז זהוס על קרונוס, ואז איך קוראים לבן שלו שזרקו למטה? טובל, כן, וולקן. אבל וולקן לא מתגבר על זהוס, אבל הוא גם בן שלו שנופל למטה. יש כאן איזה שכן...
זה בדיוק בדרך של הנפילה.
זה של השתלשלות, אבל זה כן, העניין הוא שכן ההתגברות על הזמן, על מלאך המוות, על הזמן הזה, או גם אפילו ההתגברות על במיתולוגיה היוונית זה גם התגברות על הגורל אפילו, אני חושב.
מה ההתגברות כאן? האם באמת, לא, באמת בקטע הזה.
לא, כן, לא, פשוט השאלה בסופו של דבר זה מה מצווה. האם קרונוס מצווה אותך? או שיש משהו עמוק יותר מכל
אני אגיד לך איך אני רואה התגברות בקטע הזה? כי אני רואה את זה לפעמים אצל אנשים וילדים שהם מרוב מי מצווה הזה, הם לא זורמים. אתה אמרת מקודם אמירה יפה, שכאילו כשאתה בשליטה, אז אמרת את ההבדל בין אם אתה מנסה להיות בשליטה מול הכאוס, ובין אם אתה מתכוונן אליו, זאת אומרת זורם איתו. והזורם איתו זה היותר, זה ההתגברות, כאילו. אתה מזמין טרגדיות כשאתה בשליטה.
כן.
אוקיי?
כן.
אז כאילו זה, מבחינתי ההתגברות זה כאילו להיות מוכן.
אבל ההתגברות זה יצירה שמובילה את הכאוס. זה כאילו אומר כשהשמש, ברגע שהיא נכנסת לתהום, ואז היא עולה למעלה מהים, כל הגלים של הים מנסים להגיע אל עבר השמש היום. כשמגיעה ספינת הזהב, כל הגלים של הים דוממים ומנסים להגיע, כלומר, מה שאתה יוצר, בסופו של דבר אתה יוצר משהו, שכל הכאוס הזה מתקבץ יחדיו, וכנראה שצחוק זה הדבר שמחנך אותו הכי, כן, מקבץ אותו יחדיו תמיד. אם יש מטרה שאתה מדביק לצחוק, כנראה זה מקבץ את כל הכאוס. הכאוס הזה חשוב כי הוא הקצף, הוא בעצם הכוח שלך להגיע לשם. בלעדיו אתה לא תגיע לשום מקום. זאת אומרת, בלעדיו, איך הוא מתאר את הנפש, או את המחשב, קפיצות המחשבה האלה הם כלום בשבילי. כלומר, אני יכול להתוות לעצמי מטרה פה, אני אעשה את זה, בסוף אתה לא עושה כלום, כי זה הופך לטפיל כזה. קפיצות המחשבה, קפיצות... לא חושב איך הגעתי לזה. אז לא דבר, כן, הרי לנו ליצור דימוי שיש כאן גם מקום של יצירה. טוב, אני צריך ללכת. אבל כן. כן, כן. יש לי עוד...
לא, אתה לא הולך לשם עכשיו?
לא, יש לי עוד קצת זמן. ועוד יש לי... בוא נצפוק מוקדם אחר. לא...
זה ההתגברות העצמית.
9, משהו כזה.
גם אני.
כן, טוב, עשינו את כל התהליך.
כברת דרך יפה, פגישה הבאה הכל בעברית.